All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a question that connects something you feel every day, that feeling of exhaustion, to, get this, the fundamental laws of the universe. We're going to find out the real physical price of a single thought. You know the feeling, right? You've been studying for hours, or maybe you're deep into a really tough project at work, and you are just wiped out, physically exhausted. But you haven't moved a muscle. So what gives? Why does thinking so hard make you feel so physically tired? Well, the answer isn't really in your muscles. It's not about biology class. It's actually about physics. It's this incredible story about order and chaos and a kind of universal tax that every single living, thinking thing has to pay. Okay, first up, the universe's messy room and why your brain is constantly fighting it. So, to really get this tax on thinking, we have to start with a basic rule of the cosmos. The universe loves a mess. So this is what's called the second law of thermodynamics. And really, all it says is that the universe has this natural tendency to go from order to disorder. You know, chaos. Think about it. A clean room will get messy all by itself, right? But a messy room is never, ever going to spontaneously clean itself. The universe is just wired to move toward chaos. That disorder is called entropy. And that's where our brains come in. Because a thought, a memory, an idea, that's a moment of pure order. You're taking this chaotic jumble of neurons and you're forcing them into a very specific, structured pattern. You are literally cleaning up a tiny little corner of that messy universe. And just like cleaning your actual room, that rebellion against chaos, it takes energy, a lot of it. Now, for a long, long time, physicists actually wondered if intelligence could somehow cheat this system. And this led to this famous thought experiment, a paradox really, that baffled scientists for nearly 100 years. And it's all centered on this tiny, kind of mischievous little demon. So meet Maxwell's demon. The idea is he's this tiny little guy guarding a door between two halves of a box full of gas. And what he does is he lets the fast, hot molecules go one way and the slow, cold ones go the other. So what's he doing? He's creating order from chaos, and it looks like he's doing it for free. This seemed to completely break the second law of thermodynamics. It looked like he was getting a free lunch from the universe, and that just wasn't supposed to be possible. The solution, when they finally figured it out, was absolutely brilliant. See, physicists realized that the demon's knowledge isn't free. To sort those molecules, he has to look at them, right? He has to gain information. He has to remember, okay, this one is fast, but here's the catch. His brain isn't infinite. So to measure the next molecule, he has to forget the last one. He has to erase that previous measurement. And that is where the bill comes due. And then, in 1961, a physicist named Rolf Landauer finally pinpointed the exact cost. This is known as Landauer's principle, and it is so cool. He proved that the energy cost isn't in getting the information, it's in erasing it. Every time you reset a single bit of memory to make room for a new one, you have to spend a minimum amount of energy, and that energy gets released as heat. So the demon pays his bill every single time he forgets. And this brings it right back to us, doesn't it? It's a profound consequence. Every single time you form a new memory, or learn a new fact, or make a decision, you're constantly writing and rewriting information in your brain. You are paying a physical, thermodynamic tax. There is just no such thing as a free thought. Okay, so if every thought has a price, what's the actual energy bill for our minds? The biological numbers here are, well, they're staggering in two completely opposite ways. Get this. Your entire brain runs on about 20 watts of power. That's it. We're talking about the same amount of energy as a dim, old-school light bulb. For the organ that can contemplate the meaning of the universe, that can write symphonies, create art, that is an absolutely unbelievable level of efficiency. Just to put that in perspective, right? To do tasks that are totally trivial for you and me, a supercomputer needs megawatts. That's millions of watts. It needs its own power plant, basically. Your brain does it all after, what, a bowl of oatmeal? The efficiency is just, it's off the charts. But, and this is a huge but, here's the brutal cost. Even though it's so efficient, the brain is also incredibly greedy. Look at this. It makes up only about 2% of your body's weight, but it devours a full 20% of your total daily energy. It's a tiny, tiny organ with this massive, massive appetite.
And it gets even crazier. In a baby, when that brain is growing and wiring itself up like crazy, it consumes a whopping 50% of their total metabolic energy. Half. Half of everything a baby eats goes directly to building that mind. This is a huge reason why babies sleep so much. They're basically recovering from being in a constant state of mental energy bankruptcy.
So where is all this energy actually going? I mean, it's not like you're lifting weights with your brain. Well, most of it goes to just basic maintenance. Your neurons are kind of like tiny, leaky batteries. They need to hold a charge to be ready to fire. But ions are always leaking out, so these millions of tiny molecular machines, they're called sodium-potassium pumps, are just working 24/7, burning fuel to push those ions back where they belong. This is what causes that feeling of mental exhaustion. You've literally just burned through all your available energy, just keeping the system ready to think. Which brings up a pretty logical question, right? If this is all just an energy game, why can't we just, eat a bigger lunch and become a genius? Well, turns out there's another fundamental physical limit holding us back.
See, the problem is your brain isn't some clean, cold supercomputer sitting in a server room. It's a biological organ. It's warm, it's wet, and because of that, it's incredibly noisy.
Yeah, noisy. At body temperature, all the molecules inside your head are constantly jiggling and bouncing around. This creates a huge amount of random electrical static. It's like a constant background roar. So for one neuron to send a clear signal to another, it can't just whisper. It has to fire this really powerful electrical spike. It literally has to shout to be heard over all that noise. And of course, shouting takes way more energy than whispering. This is another tax we have to pay, the noise tax, on every single thought, just because we're warm-blooded animals.
So when you put this all together, you've got the second law of thermodynamics, you've got the cost of erasing information, you've got the brain's massive energy budget, and this tax of thermal noise, you arrive at a really profound conclusion about what our own intelligence actually is. Our intelligence, it's an evolutionary compromise. It's a balancing act. Nature basically gave us a brain that was just smart enough to help us find food and not get eaten, but also efficient enough that it wouldn't cause us to literally starve to death just by thinking too much. Our minds weren't designed to discover the ultimate truths of the universe. They were designed for survival on a really, really tight energy budget.
So the next time you feel that deep, bone-weary exhaustion after a day of intense mental work, remember what's actually going on inside you. You are a 20-watt biological machine fighting against the entire universe's tendency toward chaos, and you're constantly struggling just to pay the non-negotiable energy bill for every single one of your thoughts. And that really leaves us with a final, pretty provocative question, doesn't it? We've pushed this 20-watt biological machine about as far as it can go. So what happens next? What happens when our endless quest for more intelligence runs headfirst into the hard, unchangeable laws of thermodynamics? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.